You're listening to LVB Podcast Show with your friend, advocate, and host, Alvaro.
Hello and welcome to LVB Show. My name is Alvaro and I'm very happy to be with you tonight. Before I introduce our guest, I want to say thank you so much to everyone listening from the United States, from Canada, from Mexico, from Australia, from Asia, from Africa, from Latin America, from Europe, and everywhere else where they are listening to the show right now. I also want to say thank you to the people who helped me edit my shows through the years. I have had the pleasure of having a wonderful friend, Wasim, and he helps me a lot editing my shows. And since last year, I also have Delon, who helps me edit my shows, and Delon is going to be on my show soon, actually. So tonight, we have with us someone with a very powerful name, AZiza Rodriguez. She's from the United States and she's blind. And I also want to say thank you to Ramona Lee, who was the one to refer me, Aziza, for the show tonight. And I'm not going to talk about Aziza's history or whatever because she has a lot to say and better to listen to her telling us why she's so inspiring. I read her story a few months ago, actually, and I was very impressed. She does so much. It's unbelievable. I mean, she may be blind, but it's unbelievable what she's able to do. And that's why I do this show, to always showcase, always highlight the abilities of everybody. So, Aziza, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
I'm very excited as well. And first of all, can you tell us a little bit about your life, your background?
So I was born in California and raised there. I live in Denver, Colorado now. I had retinoblastoma as an infant, and that's why I'm blind. Yeah, let's see.
Okay,
I have yeah, better for questions.
Yeah, I'm going to help you with that, Aziza. I would like to know what have you studied and what is your current job?
So I am a personal care provider and a respite care provider. So what that means is I am essentially in the home health sector, below what would be a CNA. So before you have a nurse, you would have someone like me. And so we work with people with disabilities or with the elderly. Right now, all my clients are, most of them are children, and I do have one young adult, but I don't have any elderly clients at this time. So I've worked with people who are autistic or have what is called fetal alcohol syndrome disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder. And my job is just to help them maintain their personal care and healthy routines and habits so they can live as independent as possible.
If our listeners are listening carefully, isn't this wonderful? I mean, you're doing a great job for everybody, Aziza, I have to say. And I would like to know, and probably our listeners are wondering, how did you find this job? Because we are highlighting how people in the blind community Well, many are unemployed. Let's say it like it is, and
Yeah.
I want to hear your first, how did you find it, and then hear your opinion about the unemployment in the blind community everywhere.
So to be honest, I definitely have experience with that. My partner and I were having a really hard time finding work and being able to pay the bills from month to month. And at one point, a friend of mine had a baby who was premature. And she wanted someone to help her with her child when she went back to work, but that she could trust, not just a stranger, or she didn't want to put the baby in, daycare so early, having been a premature baby. And so she asked me to watch the baby. And so at that point, I was essentially nannying. But I learned a lot about the development of children and medical terms and the development percentiles that nurses and doctors look for in children, because premature babies are monitored as they grow to make sure they're developing well, and that nothing is happening because of their being premature. So I learned a lot, and when they moved away after about a year and a half of me working for them, I was looking on really everything, like Facebook, Craigslist. There's an app here called Nextdoor, which is like a Craigslist, but like more community based on your location.
Right.
And looking for other babysitting and childcare positions. And I got a few. I still have a couple families that I work for, when they need childcare. But in that search, I came across my first personal care position. And that was for my only adult client at this time. And so, being that we needed, to have a sustainable source of income, I just tried it. I didn't have experience, but it sounded like something I could do, and I went to the interview, and the mother of the client understood, disabilities, obviously having, a child that had disabilities too, and was willing to let me take the position. And from there, I've just grown my resume each time by working with different companies and having reference letters from my clients. And it's something I enjoy, giving back to the disability community and helping them develop their skills to be independent.
Okay, Aziza, let me see if I understand correctly. You went to high school, and then did you study anything else, or did you just?
I did study some psychology and child development. I did do some college. I did not finish. There was things going on in my family and in my life that it just made it
Right,
really difficult at the time.
right.
And then when I moved to Colorado, I really was just trying to get established. And at that point, I started working. So it's really more of a skill-based field than an
Oh,
education-based one.
this is very interesting.
Hmm.
Very interesting. I want to go deep into this subject. I didn't plan to, because
No, it's okay.
it's very exciting, Aziza, and it's important. And it's important because, to be honest, many people, including me, we didn't finish college. I went to college, for our listeners, for a little while. I was not able to finish college for many, many reasons, including the economical one. And I I wanna give some hope to people, Aziza, who are listening in the United States and elsewhere about this subject of you are able to work hard in the best college in the world, which is life, and then be able to apply those skills that you have learned and you have been able to become an expert on, and then become a great worker. And I want to emphasize that, Aziza, because I do believe that sometimes people focus too much in the importance of getting a college degree education, which is wonderful, but not everybody can do it. Not everybody have the economical possibilities, or maybe their life is too complicated, or maybe they are not suited for the college life.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it the way it is for some people also.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this, Aziza, but in Germany there are more technical people than college graduates, because people get the skills from studying a technical degree too. So I would like to understand a little bit more of what you do. And I want to begin with the babysitting. I think it's fascinating. Um,
Yes.
First of all,
It is, and it's a topic that I'm very passionate about, because there have been cases where children have been taken from parents. I don't know if you were aware of the big kind of explosion that happened when a radio station said that blind people could not watch children.
yeah, heard
It
that.
was a couple
Yeah,
months ago.
yeah.
And so, it is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, and it's something I'm passionate about, because, here are people who have no idea, saying that it's impossible for me to do the job I do. So yeah, there is, if you're interested in doing something, and you have the drive to do it, then you're going to figure out a way that works. And you'll be told no a lot of times. I've had families not call me back from interviews. I've had, situations where I've only watched their children once and I've never been called back. But then you find other families who are totally open to the idea. I have one family that I was watching their daughter from when she was about 9 months, and now she just turned 4, and now I think of her as one of my nieces. I'm very close to the family. And so, it's all about finding people who will give you the opportunity to showcase what you can do and developing those relationships.
Now, Aziza, let's talk about what are some of the biggest skills that you need in order to babysit being blind, because people may be interested in this.
I think you need to be flexible and creative. You have to find ways to monitor doorways so that kids don't get out, or you have to be aware of where children are. You have to also create a rapport with the child and stand by that. Like, one of my rules is, if we go out to the park or even into the front yard, if I call your name and you don't respond, you don't get a second chance. We're going inside. Because there has to be an understanding and trust and it has to go both ways. There are also tools, I don't have any toddlers or infants right now, but, looking at different tools and how you can use them to benefit you and your disability. There are spoons that have chambers in their handles for baby food. So instead of having to measure, the right bite and trying to balance it and just making a big mess, because babies are not easy to feed, you just squeeze the handle and a little bit of food comes out onto the spoon, and it just simplifies the process much, easier. So, being open to try new things and creative, and really attentive. You can't. What I tell people is the benefit is that I don't get to sit on the couch and, be buried in my phone, like someone else who would be just quote unquote watching your kid. I'm going to be down on the ground and playing with them and involved and talking to them because that way, I'm keeping them engaged so that I know where they are at all times.
I wonder for our listeners, AZiza, what do parents ask you when they see that you are blind? What's their first concern about their kids?
It's usually how will I, keep track of them. And that's when I talk to them about, engaging with the child. And to be honest, I haven't really, with the families I work with, I haven't really gotten a whole lot of questions. A lot of times I am the person who will say, do you have any questions about my blindness and how I do things? Because while it's not legally required for me to disclose my disability, I do feel like it's important for parents to talk about when they're trusting me with their child.
Right.
So if you do have a question, I'd rather you ask it than be worried and not ask it. In the case of a child, this isn't an office position. You're trusting me with something very important.
Wow, this is so exciting. I can't wait to share this interview with people because, wow, I mean, this is what I think, AZiza. I believe we have to be, and you have said it a few times. I realize that, and I super agree with you. You have to be creative.
Yeah.
And I do believe that is critical, and we are creative, but we have to take that from our souls and hearts and put everything there because we are going to compete against so many other people, and the odds are not in our favor in the beginning. We have to prove everybody that we are able to do it. Sadly, it's the way it is. So we have a mountain to climb. We have to climb that mountain, and it's not going to be easy for our listeners. And they know it. Mm-hmm. We know it. We go through it every day. But when we show what we are able to do, when we are passionate about something, when we have the drive, as you say, and we are focused on it, and we give it all, for sure we're going to be great workers. That's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, and your experience and your drive will speak for itself, but you have to keep going. Yes. Like I said, I've had families who don't call me back. That doesn't mean I sit by the phone hoping they'll call me back. That means I schedule another interview, or I post another ad, or I respond to someone else. And you just have to keep going. I've, and build that record to show people. The way I started was getting reference letters from the friends and people that I had worked, for that knew me. You build up reference letters and you have people who will recommend you, and that carries weight with other parents.
Absolutely. Now, regarding technology, what kind of technology has helped you find jobs and being productive in life?
I don't use a lot, to be honest. My phone, I have an iPhone, and like I said, I use apps to network and meet people. But other than that, I just use my phone. Sometimes I'll take, pictures of the kids for their parents, or I will keep in touch with their parents via text message. there's obviously like games that I can engage kids with on my phone, but that's really the main piece of technology that I use. I do have twin vision books, so print and braille, so that I am able to read to them. And then, I've collected toys and blocks and things that I can engage them with that are accessible to me too. Like I have a ball with bells in it, so we can play ball, but I can also hear where the ball is.
Wonderful. I'm very impressed, I have to say, Aziza. Very impressed.
Yeah.
And I know our listeners too. And now you do so many things. You also have some writing experience with my friend or our common friend, Ramona Lee. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I have a service dog. I got her from Guide Dogs for the Blind. She's 10 now, and she's my first dog, and her and the people she's brought into my life are very important to me. And so when I saw this opportunity to write about my experience, I really wanted to memorialize our relationship and how important that's been in my life. And so I really, jumped for the chance to be a part of this project of Ramona's. And it's been so great. The experience has been amazing. To read other people's stories, to help edit them and craft them into what we ended up with a final copy. It was just all amazing because service dogs really create an extended family. And so to be able to share that with everyone else has been very powerful for me.
And we're going to have Ramona Lee on the show soon to discuss this wonderful project. And I have a follow-up question about the babysitting job related.
No, it's okay, yeah.
Related to your service dog. So, do you bring your service dog with you? I guess, right?
Yes. To be honest, it's a real icebreaker for kids, especially new kids that I'm meeting. They're more interested in the dog than a person. And it's a teaching moment for me because I can teach them, about service dogs when a lot of kids are not talked to about that. It's just, oh, look, a cute dog. Or, in my travels, I've heard people say, oh, don't pet that dog, it will bite. And no, that's not true. Tell your kids the facts or don't tell them anything at all. Like, you can tell them that you don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know. So to be able to talk to kids about, the differences that people have and how people get around and, how these dogs help people it's really great for me to be able to teach them because, our kids are going to be our future. So if they have that information available to them, they will grow up into more accepting adults.
Absolutely. And Aziza, I noticed that you have a very enthusiastic kind of spirit. From where it comes, your strengths, your powerful spirit that you have right now?
My mom, she, she didn't necessarily know what to do with a blind child, but she wasn't going to let me just sit at home. There were lots of times where people would say, oh, your baby's going to fall down or your baby's going to run into that. And she's like, yeah, she probably will. And then she'll learn not to do that again, or, I'm sure your child has fallen down too. Why shouldn't mine have the same experiences? And so a lot of, parents who didn't understand were very shocked, how, cavalier she was. And of course, she didn't want me to get hurt, but at the same time, like, she wasn't going to, shelter me from doing things that normal kids would do. I was climbing trees and riding scooters, and yeah, I did get hurt a lot. I would run into trees and fall downstairs, and it was just but at the same time, I was learning and having fun and trying new things. And, she held me to the same standard she held my sisters. I had to learn to clean and put away my clothes and cook and everything. So, if someone tells me that I can't do something, usually that just makes me want to do it. So,
Aziza, now something comes to mind and is unemployment in the blind community. What would be an advice for people looking for work anywhere in the United States? And I have a bunch of friends looking for jobs right now and in other countries also. What do you think we need to do other than posting a resume to websites?
I think you need to get out there and network and talk to people. It's not a very nice thing to say, but I know of people who just complain. Nobody called me back. I don't know what to do. And
Right.
well, okay, did you do any interviews today? Did you send in any applications? Well, no, because nobody called me back. And, to be honest, so last year, my partner lost his job and on a Friday, and by Monday, he had another interview scheduled. So you have to keep going. You can't stop. And it's stressful and it's hard and it doesn't make you feel good because there is discrimination. There are accessibility issues. But, the bill's still got to be paid, so you can't stop. Other things are to take advantage of every opportunity. I've been lucky enough to take a mental health class provided by the community. I've taken a disabilities advocacy class. I have volunteered. I'm a Girl Scouts volunteer. I also serve on so I live in Denver, and I serve on the Denver Mayor's Youth Commission. So getting involved and meeting people, networking, and doing the things you're passionate about, even if it doesn't pay, because that involvement will open up doors for other things.
Wonderful. I like your attitude a lot, Aziza. And may I ask, what's your age?
I'm 28.
Well, you're doing very well, I have to say.
Thank you.
And something that I want to emphasize for our listeners is this. On this show, we have discussed how we have many obstacles to find work, and that is correct. But also, and I'm a proof of that, and so is Aziza, we have found jobs in the past, and in the workplace it's possible to work having a disability for sure. If you are willing to give your all, be prepared for the job, of course, and be confident and be absolutely sure that you're going to be a wonderful worker and work your best every single day. And be aggressive, obviously in a good way, when looking for a job. Because if you become a little bit lazy, saying to yourself, oh my God, this is too difficult, nobody's calling me, nobody's going to call me, nobody this, nobody that, then you will never find a job. It's as simple as that.
It's true, yeah.
That's why I like your attitude, because you gotta go for it,
Yeah.
If you were sighted, for our listeners, you go for it. But if you have a disability, you go double. You know what I mean? And you really
and it's not fair. You can talk about how it's not fair and it's discouraging and it's frustrating. All of those things are valid, but it's still, unfortunately, the way it is. So you have to play the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
Things are improving. I mean, we're not going to say things are not improving. Things are improving. People are getting more educated. And with people like Aziza doing what she's doing, she's educating the public. But definitely,
and uplifting the disability community itself. That's what's important to me, too. I'm educating these parents, but, yes, I do babysitting, but my main job is working with kids and adults who have disabilities to improve their future.
Right. So you're doing both. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say to people, never get discouraged. We have to keep going, and things are going to get done. We're going to make it happen. That's for sure. And I would like to hear your final thoughts on this. Whatever you want to say, please say it.
Yeah, we cannot deny that things are improving. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but for some of us like me, it was before I was born that we didn't have like in the US the ADA. So things are improving and things are getting better, but without us getting involved in our communities to show people what we have to offer and making space for ourselves, then it can't continue to improve. We have to take our place. And this is something that I think of with all groups. You know, a lot of social justice warriors essentially will say, "Oh, well, this protest didn't have room for me and my skin color or my background or my religion or anything." And it's like, well, you know, they might not have given you a personalized invitation, but did you show up? Did you tell them, look, I'm here anyway and I want a place in this conversation, or did you stay home and complain about it? And I think it's the same thing with the disability community. You have to make people see you and hear you. You have to show up and take your spot at the table and tell them I'm here and now you have to deal with me. Because if you just stay home, then, you know, they don't have to deal with you. They haven't seen you. They don't know you. And like they say, out of sight is out of mind. So if you're not in their space, in their face, using their facilities, you know, being their coworkers, being their employees, they're not going to remember us.
Absolutely. And Aziza, before I let you go, what's your biggest dream in life?
I think it's a toss-up between writing. I've always wanted to write, so that was another reason that this, opportunity that Ramona gave me with the Walk in My Paws Service Dog Anthology was so important, was having the chance to actually be published and then just to help people. And so I really do enjoy the job I have. It can be stressful and busy, and I definitely put a lot of my emotions into it, so it can be very draining, but I enjoy it. I like what I'm doing.
Aziza, finally, how can people get in touch with you?
So I'm on Facebook under AZiza Rodriguez. I do have a Facebook page. It's called Fresh Outlook, and we feature disability-related topics and different projects and innovations that are being done that can help us. And I'm on Twitter under my name as well. I think it's at Ethereal Rose 91. But
Okay.
You should be able to type in my name as well. And yeah, that's where I am.
That's where you are, and you are making a lot of impact in the world. And keep going, Aziza. Keep going.
Thank you so much.
No, it's been a pleasure to have you, and I'm really excited. It's the first time, I think, in so many years that I do the show. Since 2011, I have been doing the show. That I have someone on that tells the story of how she has been able to accomplish so much in being a doer, and also being someone, if you allow my comment, self-made. which is something that someone calls me all the time, and I do agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
And bring it on. Bring it
and
on.
it
And
is
that's important.
hard, it can be hard to do that, but, I think about going back to school, but it's hard. It's hard to be, there isn't a space between being in the system or out of the system. And so, you know, it's a decision of whether I work to pay my bills or, if I don't, who's going to take care of that if I go back to school? So it can be a hard decision to make, but sometimes school just isn't feasible for people's life situations, and there are other options. So,
Yes, there are other options as well. And that is important. Options for our listeners. Thank
yes.
you so much, AZiza, for everything.
Of course, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And for our listeners, remember you can follow me on Twitter at Low Vision Bureau. You can email me to be on the show at lowvisionbureau@gmail.com. And well, from this very powerful show, I want to say thank you to everyone for listening and have a wonderful night.